another key piece of his liberal agenda in motion today by publicly urging Congress to tackle immigration reform.
Surely we can all agree that when 11 million people in our country are living here illegally, outside the system, that's unacceptable. The American people demand and deserve a solution. They deserve common sense, comprehensive immigration reform grounded in the principles of responsibility and accountability.
And he cautioned against states taking matters into their own hands with immigration enforcement measures.
Indeed, our failure to act responsibly at the federal level will only open the door to irresponsibility by others. And that includes, for example, the recent efforts in Arizona, which threaten to undermine basic notions of fairness that we cherish as Americans, as well as the trust between police and their communities that is so crucial to keeping us safe. In fact, I've instructed members of my administration to closely monitor the situation and examine the civil rights and other implications of this legislation. But if we continue to fail to act at a federal level, we will continue to see misguided efforts opening up around the country.
Just hours after the president delivered those remarks, Jan Brewer, the governor of Arizona, signed the tough new immigration legislation into law. I guess she wasn't afraid after she heard what President Obama had to say. Joining us now from Boston, immigration attorney Susan Church, and here in Washington, Democratic strategist Alicia Menendez. Ladies, great to see you. Let's start with you, Alicia. You know what's at stake in Arizona, right? Last year, Phoenix was the kidnapping capital of the world. We've had murders by illegal aliens of innocent Arizonans. Arizona people overwhelmingly supported this legislation. 51% of Democrats in Arizona supported the legislation. What's your problem with it?
My problem with it is that I agree with the president that sort of violates basic rules of fairness. Listen, I think it's a very slippery slope when you say the police officers, are now going to be the ones who are enforcing immigration laws. That's not what they set up for, and I think it undermines the work that they're able to do, both at a very high level, as you said, with people who are committing heinous crimes, and at the same time,
some of them are illegal aliens.
But they can't foster cooperation either in some of the communities they're going to be targeting. It's a slippery slope towards racial profiling. I think that's pretty clear.
Racial profiling, the proponents of this bill, including the author of the legislation, says racial characteristics can never be used as the sole criterion for tackling this issue and for implementing this law. Now, I want to go to you, Lisa, on this. What do you think a state can do to ensure that the people within its state are there legally? What should a state be able to do? Susan, excuse me, Susan. Sorry about that.
Well, I think that it's not possible for the states to control or regulate immigration. And I think there's a town in Texas that's tried 3 times to pass legislation, and 3 times a federal judge has declared it unconstitutional. And that's because the Constitution has a clause in it. Our forefathers had the foresight to know that this is a federal issue, that you can't have individual states having different rules on immigration, and that the federal government has to enforce these rules. And in fact, the federal government has done a lot to enforce these rules. Border agents have doubled from 2007, more than doubled, from 9,000 to over 20,000. This administration has increased funding for E-Verify program. They recently put in quotas for deportations. So I think that the federal government is working on this problem, but it's an intractable problem. People are willing to die to get into this country.
Well,
People
right,
are
and then I think
from their
they're willing to die, and they're also willing to some of them commit horrific crimes against American citizens.
Well, that's actually inaccurate.
While we talk a lot about the we talk a lot about the rights of illegal aliens,
not the truth.
I think we need to also. It's not the truth that violent crime is committed by illegal aliens across this country, by MS-13, Florencia 13, Latin Kings that have been infiltrated by Central American elements. None of that happens in the United States of America. Are you kidding me?
It happens at lower rates, though, than the general population.
The Border Patrol
they're better behaved than the regular population.
The Border Patrol has,
are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding. I mean, I think, though, it's important.
One at a time. We got 2 conversations going
on.
on.
Let me finish, please.
Let's go back to you, Susan.
99% of people coming to this country come to this country to work. Even George Bush acknowledges that. So
how do you know that when you don't believe that they should be able to be
saying that?
First of all, but you're saying that
Border Patrol agents have been interviewed about this, and they know that that's why people come.
Susan, you don't believe that states have the right to determine who is in their state. Hold on a second. You don't believe that state governors can in any way go about determining who is in their states legally or illegally. They just don't have that ability to do that. They shouldn't do that.
They have the ability to call ICE under 287G. I question enforcement by officers saying, hey, that person looks illegal. How can you possibly
well, state officials
tell
can operate under 287G in the immigration law. Let's get Alicia.
If I may, you know, I think something that's worth looking at is there was a very similar piece of legislation passed in Virginia, Prince George's County. It had devastating effects because even legal residents and citizens, on everyone in that county, people left. You had businesses shutting down.
Why do you think Arizona wants this so badly? Why do you think 51%
because they are
of
frustrated.
They have 460,000 illegal aliens.
Incredibly
all
big
law-abiding. None of them are violating in laws, according to, I guess, the conventional wisdom on this panel. They're all law-abiding, and they all just want to work in Arizona. What about the Arizona construction worker who wants a decent wage?
Yeah,
what about
absolutely.
the property owner
100%.
that doesn't want property destroyed? What about that rancher who was murdered?
You and I are saying 100% the same thing, which is that we have a broken system. We need to fix our system.
People are here
and we
illegally.
need a kick in the pants to the
No,
Senate,
the
to the House, and to the administration. No, the people who need a kick in the pants. You don't think the federal government needs to take responsibility for the fact that they have been incredibly inactive?
They're not. So what are the states to do? Just take over the states?
No, the states need to put pressure on the federal government.
You don't believe though, Susan, right? That the federal government should send the National Guard to the border, do you, or do you not? Long term?
Actually, it's illegal. Since 1876, it's been illegal for the federal government to use the National Guard for law enforcement jobs. So no, I don't believe
ladies,
it. I
we can
actually
do the
believe
whole
in the
hour on this.
Constitution.
Next time we're doing the whole hour on this. I
Do it.
appreciate it. All right, ladies, thanks a lot.